Welcome to another It's Not About Me podcast. This is Greg Vlory, aka Social Greg, on Twitter with.
I'm Tripp Braden, empowering serving leaders at trippbraden.com.
So today we're doing something different. Instead of hearing Tripp and Greg talk about issues revolving around nonprofits and developing donors and partnerships and all that, we're inviting a guest to join us this week on the It's Not About Me podcast. We invite Susie Kagami, who's a fundraising specialist, benefits auctioneer and producer of many events and programs over her 11 years of experience working with various Asian American nonprofit organizations in the San Francisco Bay Area, and talk about the emergence of this new thing, well, maybe not so new thing, online fundraising. So Susie, welcome to the It's Not About Me podcast, live from San Francisco, right?
Right. Thank you so much for having me.
Hey, Susie, it's great to see you. I'm looking forward to hearing some things. We don't do a lot of this out here in the Midwest, so we're going to kind of break some new ground today. So are you ready?
Yeah, let's go.
Let me ask you a quick question. How did you get into this?
How to get into this? I think I've always loved our community, and my connection to the Asian community has grown, especially when you have, you start having children. You want to know what's going on in their school. So I actually joined the PTA, and that's how I got started. I joined the PTA when my son was in kindergarten, and found an incredible community, passionate community. You know, us parents go crazy for our kids sometimes. So I ended up joining the PTA, and then somehow I was chosen to run it. And part of that obligation was to raise $40,000 a year for our Japanese teachers to come into our classrooms. So the school district provided half the funding, but the PTA had to provide the other half. So that's kind of where I started, and found this love of building community and the camaraderie that goes along with raising kids together in a cultural community. That was really great and important. And from there, I thought, I wonder if this can actually be a career of some kind. So that's sort of where I got started. And I was in the PTA probably for 2 years, and ended up throwing their 40th anniversary gala, which was all new to me, but raising 40,000 plus actually through various ways of fundraising.
That's excellent. That's a great way to get thrown into the pool, right? I mean, it's
Right.
like we don't know what we have to do yet, but we now have an idea what we want to accomplish. Why don't you ask? I know, Greg, you had a couple questions. I'd love to have you.
Well, yeah,
ask.
I mean, and how did you get into this, online auctioneering, or auctioneering in general?
Yeah, so after the PTA, it was actually for the Japanese Bilingual Bicultural JBBP, Japanese Bilingual Bicultural Community Parent-Teacher Organization. From there, we went, I started looking to see what other opportunities I could have to help my community. I started getting involved with the Japanese Cultural Center, Japanese Cultural Community Center of Northern California. And from there, I started volunteering and just being more involved in their community. And they had an opening for a development coordinator. So I kind of went on staff there, and through that organization, I was able to further expand my fundraising, opportunities, learning opportunities. I ended up doing 2 online auctions for them, helping them with the live auction for their big events, and helping coordinate sort of some other fundraisers. So that was a great experience in that it helped me understand even further how to build a community outside of a parent community, but it was still great. So so through that, I think at this point I've done maybe 6, 7, maybe 9 online auctions in my history. And through that experience, just watching and understanding the philosophy of how people watch, buy, and participate in auctions in general. So
That's a good segue into this next question, and then I'll hand it back to Tripp there. What, with this COVID thing and the shelter in place, what is the current state of fundraising for nonprofits in your opinion?
The current state right now, so it's been really great, actually. We've seen a lot of interest in fundraising. I think a lot of us are at home and we are missing our communities. So as you can see, a common thread is community in this conversation. Fundraising is all about community. Fundraising, you cannot fundraise without a strong community. And I think that community is built by the organization. So if you're doing great work and you're out there supporting whatever your mission and your message is, you go out there and a lot of nonprofits are doing what they're doing because of the love and the passion they have for their community. I'd say that. So yeah, I think that people are right now are home. They're feeling isolated. They don't. They're missing their community quite a bit. So when we do fundraising, when this COVID thing started, there was a lot of question because a lot of people, financially might be hurting. They might be scared about what the future might look like. Jobs are being lost, and it's an uncertain time for everyone. So the question was, do we fundraise? Nonprofits in general right now, especially those that are servicing communities that rely on them for gatherings, community gatherings, those aren't happening right now. So whether it be their daily bread and butter or whether it be their yearly annual gala, those things are not happening in the way that we have been used to seeing those. So when we ask the question, should we fundraise? I think at this point, nonprofits, if they choose to fundraise, which I think they still should, if you're still providing the right message and marketing to your community, and you're just telling them what you're doing and sticking to your mission and sharing the need of what's going on, the people that do have a financial ability to give, they will give. Some of these people, like myself, there's a little bit more money in my bank account right now because I'm not commuting every day. I'm not going out to eat. I'm not traveling. If I am prompted by a great mission and message from a community that I love, I'm going to give a little bit more right now because I want to see that organization stay alive. I think that's where we are right now. So whenever I consult clients on if they should continue their fundraising, I would say absolutely yes. The marketing portion of it or the message to your community looks a little different in that we're asking folks to give if they can, and then just be very sensitive to that, and then sharing what that money is going towards. I think more now than ever is a great time to be able to share some of the hardships that maybe the organization is going through and what their community can do to help.
That's great.
Well, that prompts a question, I guess, when you look at what you do and how you go about doing it with online fundraising. We talked a little bit offline about some of the skills required. I'm thinking of all the directors we have listening to this program right now, and I'm wondering, what skills do you think it takes to manage this funnel that we take people through when we're talking about how do we build this fundraising opportunity where we can get the optimum out of that? Because you have an interesting background and a different take on it than a lot of people I talk to that are directors. So would you mind sharing a little of that?
Sure. Yeah, it takes a village. I know that sounds really crazy and cliche, but it does. A lot of nonprofits have a core staff. Sometimes it's one paid staff, and sometimes it's 5, 10. You may or may not have a development person on your team or not. They may be paid or not. It just depends on what your capacity is. As we all know, my experience in nonprofits I've sat in many different shoes and worn many different hats in the nonprofit sector. So I get it. It's tough. It is tough. But I think, if you have a passionate staff and if you have some key players, you can do it on and you're efficient, you can do it on a smaller staff if you are passionate about it and you have folks on board with you. So in terms of what is needed, so of course you need a cheerful, energetic, positive leader that's going to kind of work through all of the challenges of doing an online auction, or online, or yeah, I would say online because right now it's all virtual anyway. So you need that. And then in terms of if I'm using an online auction as an example, there are different parts and pieces to be able to run an auction. So you need someone that's going to work the back, or to solicit and catalog all your items. You need someone to photograph all those items and get them into a auction bidding platform of some kind. You need a marketing person. Your marketing person is key to make sure that people know why you're fundraising, that the message goes out to the people that need to see it. And then you need someone to do all the money, the accounting, all of that fun stuff to make sure everybody is making sure everyone is it's more actually money. The money person and the communication person is pretty important, as maybe could be combined, where you're making sure your community knows what's going on, asks if they have technical questions, or if they have payment questions. They're kind of that liaison to your community, and then making sure everyone gets their items and everything's paid for, and their invoices are correct. And then at the end of the day, just a huge thank you to everyone for supporting your organization. So that's kind of the general streamline.
That's excellent. How does online fundraising translate from in-person fundraising? So what do you see as the differences between online and in-person fundraising?
Sure. Okay. So right now I'm working on a annual gala that we're going from a in-person gala, top of one of the nicest hotels on Union Square in San Francisco. We're moving that virtually. I'm working on a vendor fair, which is another fundraiser where they had a bunch of craft vendors come, and it was another gathering. People would go and shop for their Christmas presents for the year. We're moving that online. And I'm also working on actually a virtual conference that actually happened in Hawaii every year, where they brought people together and networked, and it was a moneymaker for them because they had merchandise, they had ticket sales, all of that. So I'm working on that right now as well. So my thinking with the clients that have approached me about moving and asking that same question, should we do it? Can we do it? The best way is if you have to have a community, because you have to have an online community, whether it be email list or social media. We need a way to reach that community. If you have that, you're golden.
Thanks for all that great information, Susie. It's funny you talk about the fact that how do you build your social community online? And one of our earlier videos is specifically about that. So if you watched this and enjoyed it and want to hear a little bit more about what Susie was talking about, you might check out our other video, which reminds me, I didn't ask last time, but I always ask, don't forget to sign up. We're looking for people as subscribers to sign up below to make sure you get all these. We're going to have a series of these coming up, and we want to have you get an opportunity to see them. So thank you for everything. And again, thank you, Susie. You bring us so much great information. I'm very excited to share this with our communities.
Thank you so much for having me. This is great. You guys are amazing.
Well, thanks for joining us, everyone. My name is Greg Voria, aka Social Greg, on Twitter for the It's Not About Me podcast. And Tripp, how do we get a hold of you?
You can find me on Twitter at Tripp Braden, or you can find me at trippbraden.com at Empowering Serving Leaders. Before I go, though, don't forget to sign up. If you haven't signed up for this, you're not going to want to miss this information. So sign up below over here. Make sure you are a subscriber and share this information with your friends every week. Thank you. And
then Susie, how do we get a hold of you?
You can reach me at susiekagami.com. I'm on LinkedIn as Susie Kagami. That's SUSIEKAGAMI. And through Greg. Greg and I are great friends, and he's a good guy to know. So you can always reach out to them, and we can all get connected that way as well. Thank you.
That's great. And we'll catch you next week on another It's Not About Me podcast.